Worn or bald tires. A. Can make turning more difficult. B. Are likely to hydroplane. C. Can increase your stopping distance. D. All of the above. D. All of the above. Worn or bald tires can increase your stopping distance and make turning more difficult. Tires without adequate tread also increase the risk of hydroplaning. If your turn signals fail, you should use fill in the blank to indicate that you are turning. A. Your horn. B. Your headlights. C. Hand signals. D. Your emergency flashers. C. Hand signals. If your vehicle's turn signals do not work, you should use hand signals to indicate when you intend to change direction. To enter a freeway. A. Signal, yield to existing traffic, and enter at the same speed that traffic is moving. B. Signal and enter the freeway. Freeway traffic must yield. C. Drive slowly so you can check traffic. D. Always come to a complete stop first. The best way to deal with tailgaters is to A. Speed up to increase the distance between you and the tailgater. B. Slam on your brakes to get the other driver to back off. C. Change lanes or gradually slow down to encourage them to pass. D. Ignore them. C. Change lanes or gradually slow down to encourage them to pass. Check the traffic behind you several times a minute to know if another driver is tailgating, approaching too fast, or trying to pass. If another car is following you too closely, slow down and let it pass. Most rear-end collisions are caused by vehicles following too closely.
Want to ace your DMV test? Click on the link below and get your guaranteed cheat sheet.
A work zone. A. May be moving or stationary. B. Is marked with black and white signs. C. Does not require a driver to slow down and pay extra attention. D. All of the above. A. May be moving or stationary. Work zones are often stationary, but they may also be present in the form of moving vehicles striping lines, mowing, or removing snow. Work zones are marked by orange signs with black lettering or symbols. Slow down and pay extra attention when approaching or driving through a work zone. When driving on major highways. A. Stay alert. B. Keep your eyes moving. C. Be ready to react to road hazards. D. All of the above. D. All of the above. It is important to stay alert on highways and be ready to react to unexpected hazards. To avoid highway hypnosis, you should avoid looking at any one thing for more than a few seconds. This sign means A. Continue at your current speed. B. You must stop ahead. C. Speeding is not allowed. D. There is a traffic signal ahead. D. There is a traffic signal ahead. This sign indicates that there is a traffic signal ahead. A driver entering interstate traffic from an entrance or acceleration ramp. A. Should yield to drivers already on the interstate. B. Has the right of way. C. May force their way into traffic. D. Can assume that other drivers will change lanes to make room. A. Should yield to drivers already on the interstate. If you are on an entrance or acceleration ramp and are entering interstate traffic, you should yield to drivers already on the interstate highway. Merge safely into traffic when you are able to do so. You may cross solid yellow lines. A. To pass traffic moving in the same direction. B. During daylight hours only. C. At any time. D. When making turns. D. When making turns. As a general rule, broken traffic lines may be crossed but solid lines may not. Solid yellow lines may be crossed only when the driver is making a turn. This sign means A. Trucks under 18,000 pounds. Allowed. B. Hill ahead. C. Truck stop ahead. D. No trucks allowed. B. Hill ahead. This sign warns that there is a steep hill ahead. This sign means A. Stop. B. Side road. C. Two-way left turn. D. Farm machinery. A. Stop. 8-sided traffic signs warn drivers that they must stop and yield the appropriate right-of-way at an intersection. Drivers may proceed when it is safe to do so. When you are in a line of traffic that is crossing a railroad track that has no signals or gates. A. You have the right-of-way and do not need to check for trains. B. You may pass slower drivers while crossing the track. C. You need to make sure there is space for your vehicle to get all the way across the tracks without stopping. D. All of the above. C. You need to make sure there is space for your vehicle to get all the way across the tracks without stopping. If you are following another vehicle at a railroad crossing, check to make sure you have enough room to get all the way across before you drive onto the tracks. You should never try to pass another vehicle as you approach or cross a railroad crossing. Always check for trains before crossing any railroad tracks. Before turning, you should A. Use your signal. B. Turn the wheel. C. Increase your speed. D. Change lanes. A. Use your signal. To complete a turn safely, you should activate your turn signal 3 to 4 seconds before your turn. When driving on an interstate. A. Stop on the shoulder of the road if you are tired. B. You should always use cruise control. C. Signal, check mirrors, and check blind spots before changing lanes. D. You should change lanes often. Your vehicle's stopping distance increases when stopping. A. On a wet or icy road. B. On paved highways. C. When driving at night. D. All of the above. A. On a wet or icy road. Stopping distances increase on wet or icy roads. Stopping distances also increase on road surfaces covered in loose gravel or stones. You may continue carefully through an intersection with a yellow light if A. There is an emergency vehicle crossing your lane. B. There are pedestrians crossing. C. You are turning right. D. You are already within the intersection when the light changes to yellow. D. You are already within the intersection when the light changes to yellow. If a steady yellow light appears when you are already within an intersection, you should continue through the intersection carefully. If a high-intensity activated crosswalk (HOC) signal is solid red, it means A. Drivers may proceed with caution. B. Drivers should slow down and prepare to stop. C. Drivers should come to a complete stop. D. There are no pedestrians nearby. C. Drivers should come to a complete stop. HOC signals are used at pedestrian crossings. If the signal changes to a solid red, drivers should come to a complete stop. If you leave your vehicle unattended, you must A. Turn off the engine. B. Lock the ignition and remove the key. C. Set the parking brake. D. All of the above. D. All of the above. When you leave your vehicle unattended, you must stop the engine, lock the ignition, remove the key from the ignition, and set the parking brake. Which of the following must you obey over the other three? A. A steady red light. B. A police officer. C. A stop sign. D. A flashing red light. B. A police officer. Directions given by traffic officers take precedence over signs, signals, and pavement markings. People authorized to direct traffic include police officers, fire police, highway work area flag persons, and school crossing persons. You are coming to a railroad crossing where the crossing signals are flashing. You should A. Stop and look for a train. B. Slow down and look for a train. C. Look for a train, then speed up. D. Do what the vehicle ahead of you does. A. Stop and look for a train. When approaching a railroad crossing, you must stop your vehicle no closer than 15 feet from the nearest rail if an installed electric or mechanical signal is giving warning of an approaching train. Be aware of other warning signs that may indicate an oncoming train, including seeing a lowered crossing gate or hearing an oncoming train. Motor vehicles are required to have A. A license plate only on the front. B. A license plate only on the back. C. License plates on both the front and back of the vehicle. D. License plates, but only if the driver chooses to have them. C. License plates on both the front and back of the vehicle. Colorado drivers are required to have license plates attached to both the front and rear of the vehicle. Any motor vehicle owned by a Colorado resident cannot be parked or driven on a public street or highway unless it is properly registered and displays license plates. Two solid white lines painted across a traffic lane show the boundaries of a crosswalk. As a driver, you should know that A. Motor vehicles have the right-of-way over pedestrians in crosswalks. B. When pedestrians are in crosswalks, they should be given the right-of-way. C. No one has the right-of-way in a crosswalk. D. Pedestrians are responsible to stay out of the way of all traffic. Emergency vehicles. A. Have the right-of-way when using sirens, horns, and/or flashing lights. B. May use a loudspeaker to give instructions. C. May follow each other. D. All of the above. D. All of the above. You must yield the right-of-way to police cars, fire engines, ambulances, or any other emergency vehicles using a siren or air horn and a red or blue flashing light. Follow any instructions given over the emergency vehicle's loudspeakers. Emergency vehicles often follow each other, so you should proceed only when you are certain the way is clear. When approaching railroad tracks, you should A. Look, listen, slow down, and be prepared to stop. B. Speed up to cross the tracks before the gate is lowered. C. Try to drive around a lowered gate. D. Not pay attention to how many tracks there are to cross. In which of the following ways can alcoholic beverages affect you? A. It slows your reaction time. B. It gives you a feeling of false confidence. C. It impairs your thinking ability. D. All of the above. D. All of the above. Alcohol dulls the parts of your brain that control inhibition, judgment, and self-control. As a result, you may feel stimulated, lively, and a bit giddy or foolish after consuming alcohol. Alcohol also impairs your reaction time, coordination, and balance. Your vision and ability to judge distance suffers after alcohol consumption, making it difficult to react to your surroundings.